Have you ever picked up a new game and thought to yourself, this is amazeballs? It's so good you can't wait for the sequel, and coming off the back of what at the time was a groundbreaking RPG, you're expecting the next product to be Game of the Year worthy. Then you actually press play and realise you're an idiot. However, thanks to the nostalgia left over from Origins, you're able to easily brush this awful aftertaste aside, giving the developers the benefit of the doubt, because at this stage you're firmly in denial, blaming those evil EA overlords. They must have forced my precious Bioware devs into crafting bland pudding. You even begin to suspect that dog from down the street that's been giving you funny looks. When the third entry comes out, your brain is flooded with happy time endorphins again. My goodness, it was better than that time you were predestined to become champion of Kirkwall. That is, until you take a closer look. And by now, you're still invested enough in the series to wait for the next entry.
I'm fast as boy!
But this is where you get some bad news. Oh no, the latest title from your once beloved game series is languishing in development hell. Once it does manage to claw its way out of the ninth circle of the abyss, coughing up a trailer that leaves you in such a state of confusion you're wondering, this is still Dragon Age correct? Perhaps I took a wrong turn somewhere. It's not all bad though. With this moment of contemplation also comes clarity. Perhaps it would be a mercy to end it here, before it joins the graveyard of video game franchises that have already come and gone. Looking back through the history of gaming, I've seen many a series come to an abrupt end. Sometimes all it can take to lead a once successful franchise to ruin is for the studio working on it to become increasingly creatively bankrupt, the longer the series continues, with each new entry becoming a more watered down version. But the root cause could just as easily be a lack of innovation. Maybe the hunger and passion the developers once had has all withered away, and now working on the same series day in, day out feels more like a burden. Veilguard is essentially a product of a long-term, purposeful de-evolution of video games by the industry as a whole. But for this video, I will be focusing on Bioware. The most obvious reason for this decline is the mindless pursuit of profit, an affliction plaguing every AAA developer. One of the simplest ways for management to achieve this is by resorting to cutting corners wherever possible. Before someone chimes in saying, well, the reason is much more multifaceted than just money.
But you can.
Look, shut up, okay? We all know that money is the root of all evil. Bioware have come out and made several statements that no microtransactions will be in the game. Yet, ask yourself, is it more likely they have not added microtransactions based on some moral stance? Or is it because even the higher-ups over at Bioware are self-aware enough to recognize the incredibly unstable position they are in? Dragon Age 4 entered development back in 2015. Ordinarily, I do prefer my RPGs take more than 2 years to develop. I already doubt the latest installment was in limbo so long because Bioware were cooking up a masterpiece. It's actually scary considering the amount of resources that must have been wasted during that period. And I cannot stand the term streamlining. Personally, I find industry types who bring up streamlining really mean they're going to start hacking bits off, all while being brazen enough to attempt to convince you these are absolutely necessary shortcuts, and not dumbing down what was once held up as a bright shining beacon of what's possible. Bioware first attempted this with Dragon Age 2, which featured an incredibly bland setting, anime-paced combat, copy and paste backdrops, some writing liberties were taken.
I'm always ready to help.
Most importantly, no goth girlfriend.
Get up in the morning. No messages from my goth girlfriend cause I don't have one.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Yeah, that's right. I used a meme for 2017. Worst of all, they locked you in Kirkwall for the entire game.
Maker, no!
Wait, what am I saying? No, the worst part is this was an incredibly clumsy attempt at streamlining the series. You can understand Bioware's desire to move in this direction. It's as predictable as British weather.
Welcome to Britain, where it always fucking rains.
More product equals more sales, and while you're at it, why not chase the latest trend in a failed attempt to create a forever game?
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
Bioware has a fairly consistent record for shipping out games rather quickly. It's only later on, around the time of Anthem, do you see the first brick in this timeline appear. That's without including the massive gap between the latest Dragon Age games. The little goblins just couldn't resist the brighter lure of live service titles. I have little doubt had Anthem came out as a hit, today it would be stuffed full of more microtransactions than Peter Parker after Thanksgiving.
Pizza time.
How else can the Goblin Kings be expected to build their empire of gold? Naturally, their efforts in the arena of mass appeal have led to the diminishment of their products.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
Hey look, it's the Fade. Oh look, there it is again. I have the strangest feeling Bioware is trying to clue me in on a hidden message. Wait, I got it. Aliens are actually demonic forces. Forgive me, Garrus, but I need to save the human race. Yet another opulent, opportunistic corporation towing the line that video games only sell well when conformed to the dreadfully dreary mold of AAA slop.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
If you like any of these companies, that's fine. Honestly, I just happen to think their games are harbingers of the ongoing destruction of the gaming industry, conditioning the human race and becoming brain-dead zombies incapable of intellectual discernment. Thankfully, that illusion was thoroughly shattered by Larian Studios with a release of Baldur's Gate 3. That said, here's the Veilguard trailer. Let me save you some time. It's a pile of horse crap. People love the old idiom, don't judge a book by its cover, which I agree with 100% when it comes to people. Imagine you poke fun at this lovely chap named Frank because he dresses like a hobo. Later, you find out he donated one of his kidneys, and the reason Frank wears the latest chic and low-rate clothing is because he gives away most of his income to those in need. Man, would you have egg on your face or what? But for a product you're expected to fork over your hard-earned money for, no, that's the entire purpose of the cover. Allow me to banish any lingering doubts people may have concerning if this trailer was somehow unintentionally put together by a room full of cute and adorable animals. It was not. While I may not work at a video game studio, I'd still bet my last cup of tea that trailers have to go through a lengthy process before release, starting with the basic concept and footage capture, editing, sound design. Think about it, the script of the trailer would have had to have gotten the seal of approval. Then the voice actors were brought in to record.
Hi, I'm Brian Bloom.
Finally, it's reviewed, receiving the thumbs up. Take a peek at the thumbnails to see exactly how many craps Bioware gives about the latest installment of Dragon Age. They're the type of thumbnails you would expect a brand new content creator to come up with. Or me. Genuinely not sure if this is a result of apathy or incompetence. They thought it was a really great idea to put out a trailer more fitting for a cheesy action movie than the release of a Dragon Age game. Having said that, there may be a couple we can fix. Although, I say that loosely. Let's start with Veilguard Ballara's intro. First, remove the damn roll title. Then make use of the visual clue that's right there. That would be Ballara jumping out of the veil, by the way. I wonder where her expertise lies. Could she possibly spend her time traversing the Fade? One last hope I have for this character is she had better be just as unhinged as that one chaotic evil guy that's secretly part of your good-aligned party. Because each time we've been to the Fade and every description of the place paints an incredibly bleak picture. It's not a magical bouncy castle funland, so you'd have to be at least a tiny bit deranged to enjoy exploring such a realm. Oh great, there's an organization of these people. Yes, the scariest location full of horrors and nightmares that can literally possess you, giving birth to a walking abomination is now a joke. Yay, I'm so happy. Another character introduction that can be tweaked is Emmerich. Oh boy, look at all those skeletons, huh? I wonder who has the power to raise the dead. Could it be a necromancer? Wow, I'm sure glad Bioware spelled that out for me. If not for them, I may not have realised that 2 + 2 = 4. Darwin the Grey Warden's intro is not brilliant. Who brings a baby griffin to a Darkspawn fight? Bioware forgotten their own lore, apparently.
Griffins. Unfortunately, they've all passed back into the Maker's hand.
I guess it must have just slipped their minds that griffins are on the endangered species list.
I fear he's not long for this world.
Anyway, forget about that overstuffed turkey. What works in the Origins trailer is how quickly and simply information is laid out for the viewer. Immediately, you see a main threat of the game, the Darkspawn, then cut to some villagers running away, a quick cut to reveal the Grey Wardens as the world's last hope against the legions of darkness. Bam! Threat and goal established. Who's this dark-attired individual? Could that wooden stick on her back possibly be a staff? Who uses those again? I wonder, is it possible this is a mysterious mage with a dark side? Nah, that's crazy talk. The unspoken strength of this trailer is its ability to effectively establish the mood and atmosphere of the world you're about to enter. And since I suck at transitions, now we're going to chat about Legacy. However BioWare may attempt to reinterpret it, Dragon Age will always be dark and visceral. Origins firmly established itself as a game about struggle. It's an incredibly grim and gritty story. Do you know this is a world where blood magic is used to summon demons? Do you know that the Veil is a realm of nightmares that threaten all living beings? Do you know that slavery is just a normal part of life in Phaedus? Do you know that there's an unstoppable horde that is wiping out everyone in its path? Do you know that even if you raise an army of humans, elves and dwarves, 3 races that don't really like each other, and defeat the seemingly unstoppable army of Darkspawn, by shivving the archdemon, your great reward for all your struggles is that you get to have a nap for the rest of eternity. And the only way to save yourself is to take part in a magic ritual. So the soul of the archdemon transfers to your character's yet-to-be offspring. Oh, I see you back there. You can't hide from me. And even if you choose that option, there's no unbecoming a Grey Warden, so half your lifespan is down the drain, and you'll live out your final days wandering underground in the dark, muttering to yourself like a nutter.
So long since I've said my name.
Assuming one of the Darkspawn down there don't shiv you, as payback for the death of their previous employer. That's the incredibly tame description. It's way worse. With all the detail I just laid out, pretend you're a magnificent artist who's been hired to work on the new Dragon Age. What are the chances you would come up with something like this? I'm sorry, but did someone take a picture of Mr. Blobby and slide it into the game engine?
I'm a mage. I can see through your writing that you're fucking.
If you're wondering how we ended up here, let's see. It may have been when Neve used a form of ice magic during her intro, demonstrating that she is in fact a mage. Personally, I think that was a pretty clear demonstration. If that wasn't conclusive enough, how about when Neve undid her spell that was forming the ice barrier? Rook then walked through to find her. To make absolutely sure we understood, some kind soul at Bioware made sure to write her credentials on the screen. Oh, and look, she has a shiny magic staff. If that's still not enough, she talks about finding hints of old magic.
But I did find hints of old magic.
And what kind of people can locate magic? Top of the list would be other magic users. Neve comments on Solus being too powerful.
The shot won't work. He's too powerful.
Who would best be able to gauge the strength of a mage? I don't know, maybe another mage. There are 2 combat encounters where Rook and Neve are shown to be fighting alongside each other, and during both of them you can clearly see Neve using magic. This is important to note for the initial scene I showed you, since it removes the last defense for her "I'm a mage" line. This could have been meant for Rook and not the viewer. However, unless Rook is an unobservant simpleton, he's aware she's "I'm a mage" by now. Okay, so either the writing has taken a nosedive off a cliff, or Bioware views its audience as a bunch of nitwits. How's she sending swirling beams of light out the pointy end of her staff exactly? Instead, they should have highlighted why demons need to manifest weapons all of a sudden. Recall what Templars would do to circle mages in fear of them being taken over by one.
You do the harrowing, the rite of tranquility, or you die. That's what happens. But the circle also forces tranquility on those they feel are weak. And sometimes they force it upon apprentices they think might be too dangerous as mages.
When did mages begin training in Kung Fu? Usually warriors train to be one tough son of a biscuit. Rogues train to be
The best sneaky person.
and mages train so they can cast fireball at their target, ideally from the surface of Mars. Having characters that specialize in particular fields like warrior, mage and rogue gives each of them a unique purpose and playstyle. This specialization adds to team cohesion and helps explain how they survive combat encounters with monsters that are like 20 feet tall, where your regular villager would just get smushed. Well, Bioware said screw all that. Flying spat attack. Look, I'm sorry, but I gotta ask a serious question. How effective do you think it is for a mage to partake in a brawl against one of these electrified dementors? A magical rune, that's absolutely adorable. Please see my previous explanation. Oh dear, Bioware are running into various memory issues. Luckily, I have this instructional videotape on hand.
If you pick a mage, that means that you're the same class that decided to vibe check God. Canonically, vibe checked God. They vibe checked God so hard, they caused a repeating apocalypse. And do you want to know why? Do you want to know why the wizards caused a repeating apocalypse? Because they could!
So Bioware, why in the name of triple chocolate fudge pudding would you send a mage within fisticuffs distance of an enemy in the first place? It makes no sense as a mage, wizard, both, either. It does not matter. You are a supreme being. You look down at your enemies with disdain. These non-corporeal hood rats are not fit to even look upon your greatness. Never mind coming within reach of the robes you wear. After Bioware showed off the Veilguard cinematic trailer, they panicked from the avalanche of negative feedback and released the basic gameplay trailer naught but 2 days later, featuring outdated off-the-shelf combat that's been surpassed by rivals in both their action and CRPG genres. And if they had better gameplay to show, it would have been on display. But the simple truth is they don't have anything beyond this. This is why we see the 3 most popular characters from Dragon Age Inquisition during the first footage in 9 years. Varric, Harding, and Solus. It's nostalgia bait.
People are always dying. It is what they do.
Alright, I'll happily admit that's a dope line. And Varric is dead. Better not be an on-the-nose attempt to subvert my expectations. Pot-breaking, floating potions like a power-up from a very different style of game. What is this? Zelda visits Phaedus. The dialogue wheel makes a return, which has always reminded me of the other game. Your party size has been butchered down to 3.
I didn't ask for this.
As a further downgrade, you can no longer
Assuming direct control
of your party members. Just like
the other car.
No, not the car. The game, Alfred. The other game. Rook has to pick a companion to accompany him while the other one stays behind. Like the other game. The real-time with pause menu also resembles the other game. They've made Mass Effect, but in Fadus. Perhaps this is a sign that Veilguard is fated to follow in the footsteps of Commander Shepard. Personally, I'm not a fan of forever games. I know earlier I did use that term to describe Anthem. I also like using it for single-player games that just so happen to turn into an endless franchise. Just look at how they're resurrecting the OG Mass Effect. Can't wait to see how that goes and how they're going to deal with immortal life forms. No, how about the lack of technological beings? That includes the technology inside of organics, and going with the control ending leaves the galaxy in the same state it started out in. It's as if Bioware have never seen a highly advanced computer glitch out. When Bioware began developing Mass Effect and Dragon Age, it was clear they had a solid concept. This is evident from the large fan base both franchises have garnered. Although when it comes to Mass Effect, it's always appeared to be more coherent. Undoubtedly riddled with its own issues, yes. In comparison, Dragon Age has been up and down, up and down, up and down like a yo-yo. It's become incredibly obvious there was never any kind of grand plan, despite what any talking head that pops out of a company may claim. And there's this, which I just find funny. Brings me back to hashtag Buttgate, which I also found quite funny.
At least my butt didn't start a controversy.
More noticeable, this is them following trends. Again, I've read about the extra content, the expansive character creator, romance-aware companions. All of this sounds intriguing as topping. You know what I've really missed? Playing Connect the Dots. Judging by the skill bar, you will only have access to a handful of abilities. Even if you can flip the bar, that still limits you to 6. Makes sense why Neve was only casting ice spells. Have fun playing a mage. Reflecting on all we've covered, it may just be time for the Age of Dragons to end. Every age ends, and that's a good thing. Does anyone really want to be playing Dragon Age in 20 years? As an enjoyer of video games from a bygone era, I would love to see any of those classics revived, reducing them to another listless franchise, devoid of the creativity and spirit that once made them extraordinary, eventually collapsing anyway like a hollow pudding. Whatever happens with the new entry, I'm going to give it a pass. Maybe I'll pick it up in 5 years during a Steam sale. Good luck, Bioware. You know, I remember reading a few articles about the returning Mass Effect, running with headlines of returning Bioware veterans. Look guys, the veterans! The veterans are coming back! First of all, I think you should stop associating your video game company with veterans. It gives a very wonky impression.
I survived working at Bioware for 5 years. It was hell. Mark Darrah stole my linguine from the fridge, and Casey Hudson once drank the last cup of tea.
I leave you now with the completely unedited words of the great Ra's al Ghul.
Dragon Ages.
Time has come. Like
Marvel Avengers. The game
has become a breeding ground for
stagnation and mediocrity.
It is beyond saving and must be allowed to
fry.